Hey guys, Justin Coffin here for the 330 Sports Show. Greg Kirchner is going to be joining me in just a minute. This is going to be, as you can see below on the ticker, this is going to be a little bit of a special edition, one of those movie TV shows we do. So this is going to be a Christmas villains draft, both TV and movie. Greg and I are going to be making 8 picks a piece, and we're going to... The rules of this are we're going to draft animated movies, action/horror movies, and classics. So 2 of each of those, and then we can throw in any 2 wild cards we want. So we're going to do that in just a minute. But before we do that, let's have a quick word from some of our sponsors.
Mighty Mike Heating and Cooling is affordable, professional, and there when you need us 24/7. Stay warm this winter by calling your hometown hero today. Mighty Mike Heating and Cooling, 330-207-7070. This program proudly supported and brought to you by Eric Cromer, Cross Country Mortgage, a wiser way to mortgage. This program proudly supported and brought to you by the Youngstown Drip IV Bar, helping the Mahoning Valley reach its wellness goal. This program proudly supported and brought to you by Youngstown Computer, the Valley's IT company.
All right. Thank you to those sponsors. So without further ado, let's bring Greg in on stage here. So Greg, welcome back. And
good to be here. I like this new setup. This is really cool.
Yeah, this is so much better than previous setup. So much user friendly. So this should be fun. Greg and I have done plenty of drafts in the past. We actually, I mean, obviously the show's sports, but we like talking movies, maybe just as much, if not more, than sports. So hopefully people have fun with this. You can check out, we've done, I don't know how many movies, 7 or 8 movie breakdowns. Plus we've done freaking best dance scenes in a movie. We've done, like worst characters in a movie. We've done 2 years ago we did our top Christmas movies draft, and this one's going to be similar but different. So Christmas villains draft. Greg, why is this one going to be good?
Yeah, I mean, anytime it's the holiday season, you can talk about Christmas movies. I think that's kind of that in and of itself is going to be enjoyable. And there's a lot of, this is just one of those, there's a lot, it happens a lot in these drafts. We can go in any of a million different directions. I mean, there are your kind of, there's probably some classic villains that are certainly going to get drafted, but this one I think will be fun because I feel like we both have some like aces up our sleeve on just some kind of random characters that maybe aren't necessarily thought of as villains, or maybe movies that aren't necessarily, come to mind first when you think of Christmas movies. So, but this will be a lot of fun, definitely.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. And I got my list ready to go, but since it's just the 2 of us, we're not going to do snake draft. We're just going to alternate. So Greg will have the odd number picks. I'll have the even number picks. So Greg, I'll hand it off to you. You got the first pick. And again, we got to take 2 animated, 2 horror or action movies, 2 classics, and then 2 wild cards. So you can go whatever direction you want.
Okay. Yeah, I debated this one for a little bit. So for my first pick, I'm going to go classic. And I'm going to go with the Wet Bandits from Home Alone. Which, I mean, well,
it's 2 for 1.
Yeah, it's 2 for 1. There's other routes you could go within that specific movie. But I just feel like when you think about Christmas movies, I think we did Home Alone last year. It's probably my favorite. Like between 1 and 2 are probably my favorite Christmas movies to watch every year. So like, why not start there? I mean, the Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern. It's kind of like a really solid, ideal movie villains. They're like scary enough, I guess, when you're young. I do remember there probably was a period of time when I was a little bit afraid of them, but they're also kind of dipshits and inept. They're kind of like, they kind of check that inept villain box. They're funny, and you have a lot of back history with both of those actors, but especially with Joe Pesci, who's been in like tons of all-time classic movies. So
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Wet Bandits, Harry and Marv from the first two Home Alones.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one there. So can't really go wrong with the Wet Bandits or the Sticky Bandits.
That is true.
Round two there. So all right. All right, good. Oh, let me ask you this since we're on them. So Joe Pesci obviously is more of the well-known character there. But who do you think's worse out of those two? Harry or Marv?
Like worse as in like a worse person?
Yeah.
Harry. Harry, which is
Yeah.
Pesci. I think he's
Yeah.
like he's an actual like criminal.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both criminals, but he is actually like he would actually kill somebody. I think Marv is. I don't know what he is. He probably wasn't very well educated in his life and kind of fell into the life of crime. But
Yeah.
I think, and maybe it's just because it's Pesci, but like he definitely. There are a few when you watch that first movie. There's a few when he's like, "I'm gonna bite all your." Like at the end, it's like this guy is actually he kind of like every once in a while, like Goodfellas Pesci, like kind of showed up in that character, and I guess it really did too because he like I think we talked about it in the breakdown that he would like he kept saying like the F word when he was muttering in Home Alone because I think he had just done Goodfellas, so
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely say Pesci's the worst.
Yeah, and that what you just brought up there when he is like, "I'm gonna bite each," like that's a legitimately creepiness in a funny, awesome movie. So, yeah, I agree there. I think Marv's just kind of the dumb friend that kind of tags along and does whatever he's told. So, yeah, great one there. All right, so the Wet Bandits, number one. All right. I'm going to go because I only have 4 on my list. I'm going to go animated first. And I actually had this down my list a little further, but it was just on my TV here a little bit ago. I'm going to go with Professor Hinkle from Frosty the Snowman.
Oh, wow.
If you're not familiar, he is he's the magician or so-called magician, maybe the worst magician in the world. He's pretty much just a complete douchebag. And at the end, I know it's only a snowman, but he tries to murder him and puts him in the greenhouse. Goes from the solid to the liquid there in the greenhouse, but literally cannot do magic, and then figures out that he can, or the hat is magic, and then all of a sudden he's like, and he repeats everything. He's kind of just an annoying character too. So I'm gonna go with Professor Hinkle from Frosty the Snowman. Any thoughts on that guy?
Yeah, I like that. I'll tell you, it's been a while since I've seen that. In doing the research on this, I realized like some of these older like the short movies, like the classic ones, I need to like kind of rewatch a lot of those because it's been a while, but I do remember him, and I re-googled him again just to get another picture, and he just kind of looks like a loser, and that's a good pick. It's good kind of like goofy, again, kind of inept villain from a very classic.
For anyone that doesn't know what he looks like, and that's that CD right there on Professor Hinkle. So if you haven't seen him, you can hear the voice in your head, and you can picture that guy from throwback to your childhood days there. So, all right, Professor Hinkle, and I figured to cross the animated one off my list, one of the two early on. So that's my first pick. Greg, back to you.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm kind of along the same lines where these categories do make it a little bit tough. Because I feel like the classics we could do just a straight draft out of classics. I'm gonna go animated as well, and this is gonna be a completely unoriginal pick, but I'm gonna go with the Grinch.
Okay.
From the actual, I guess if we're picking what it's from the original kind of
The Dr. Seuss.
the original Dr. Seuss one. The Jim Carrey one's good too. And then they made a more recent another animated Grinch movie, I think a few years ago too. But
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna put the Grinch in animated, and I mean, there's not really too much to elaborate here. It's kind of just the class, one of the probably Mount Rushmore of like classic Christmas, kind of villain characters. And I always remember growing up watching the kind of the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas before everything was streamed. I think it's, a lot of these things, and we've talked about it in the past, it's like they would air like a couple times a year, and it was like, whether it was like on Christmas Eve or around Thanksgiving or something. So I remember kind of always trying to tune in for that, and still know all the words to the Grinch song and all that good stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Grinch.
A fun fact, and I think you were there with me, but our junior or senior year of high school, I think that the Jim Carrey one came out, and that was the only movie I've ever gone to and had a drink or two. Scott, who, if people know me, they know Scott. He was like, Rumplemints? Why not? So it was around Christmas. We went with some high school friends, and yeah, so the Grinch. So that added a little bit to it. But
are you like an original Grinch guy? Are you a Jim Carrey Grinch guy?
No, I want the cartoon. The anim or the I don't even know what you would call that, like the live action type one. Yeah. That one's creepy to me. Like the cartoon one, I can deal with that, and it's kind of cool because there's obviously in these stories there's a lot of redemption arcs and stuff like that. But I can deal with the cartoon one and like that one. But a lot of these ones are like the stop motion claymation, creepy, stuff. But like the cartoon ones itself are, even if it's weird and creepy and has, makes him out to be a bad guy, there's still kind of some likableness or lovableness of those characters. So I don't know. That's my. Which one do you prefer?
I'm with you. I'm kind of an original guy. I've heard that the recent animated one that they made, I want to say like 5 or 6 years ago, is pretty good as well.
Yeah. You know what? I feel like I've seen that on, whatever channel it plays on, you'll see it on a loop or whatever, but I have not watched it, but I'm guessing probably similar story there.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to divert too far from the plot. But okay. All right. That's good. So you went with your animated one, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So me, I'm going to go, man. All right. I'm going to go classic on this one. And I'm going to go with that son of a bitch, Uncle Frank from Home Alone. So that's 2 Home Alone picks out of the first 4. But Uncle Frank to me is literally one of the worst characters in like, he's so bad, he's good. He's good, or so he's so good, he's bad. You know what I mean? It's like he must obviously be a decent actor because you really think the guy's a piece of trash. From whether it's the first one, and they both play integral parts in the movies. But he's basically a cheapskate. He's on his Peter's free dime. He's just an ass to the kids, especially Kevin. And doesn't pay for anything, expects everything to be paid for. He acts like these 7-8-year-old kids are infallible or shouldn't make any mistakes. So and
he passes out the shrimp when he's explicitly told not to, that he needs to save it for dinner or whatever. Yeah, he's a complete dick.
or
steals
like
the silverware and out of first. Yeah, it's like, and we talked about literally doing a show like on him.
oh, it's coming.
Yeah, and you can't, and so we won't. No one maybe won't not want to spoil it, but you really could. I mean, it is. You're absolutely right, and that's exactly why I was like, I'm going to Home Alone here with my first pick, but there's a lot of different routes you can go.
Oh yeah.
Because when you think about it, when I was thinking about it, I was like, you could even. I mean, there's 5 or 6 characters in. I mean, maybe because it's told from the perspective of Kevin, but you could easily say his mom was a villain. His dad could be a villain. The Buzz clearly could be a villain. Basically, anybody in his family.
Yeah.
So, but I think you picked the best of certainly of the McAllister family or the extended family.
Well, and this one over here, he takes the pizzas. Oh, I forgot my wallet.
Traveler's checks. Sorry.
Well, maybe the second one he's even worse. When I don't want to get into another character that might be possibly listed on here, but when Kevin's brother does something at that choir play in the second one, and then he's like, it might have been bad, but that was pretty darn funny, and like he like literally ruins Christmas for an 8-year-old kid that will scar him for the rest of his life. So there's a good chance Kevin later in life might become like a serial killer or literally becomes Macaulay Culkin because of some of these actions that happened when he was 8 years old.
And if he ever had a list, like Uncle Frank's got to be like top 2 or 3 on that list, probably
for sure. I guess maybe top 4. Top 4. Well, wait, no, top 6. There's at least 6 that Kevin could scratch off. So we'll have plenty more Uncle Frank talk in the future, but Wet Bandits and Uncle Frank, 2 of the first 4 picks here, along with 2 animated ones. So Greg, we're gonna go back to you. I guess Uncle Frank would fall under classics because Home Alone's.
Yeah, Home Alone's definitely a classic. Mm-hmm. As much as that makes us feel really old, but yeah. So I'm gonna go again, like from a category standpoint here. And I specifically, about an hour before we did this, asked you to amend the horror category to call it action horror, because I was admittedly struggling. I'm not a big horror movie guy.
Yeah.
So and I did it with this particular character in mind, and debate it all you want whether it's a Christmas movie or not a Christmas movie. I think I've usually been in the camp of it's not really a Christmas movie, but I'm gonna play both sides here, and I'm gonna use it as a Christmas movie. Probably know where I'm going with this. I'm gonna go with Hans Gruber from Die Hard.
I already wrote it down.
Alan Rickman. So whether it's a Christmas movie or not, it's a classic villain. And Alan Rickman passed away a few years ago. Fantastic actor. He's also in Love Actually.
Okay.
So, and among many other things, I think he's in like Harry Potter.
Wasn't he? I think he was the voice for Scar on The Lion King as well.
I think you're right. He's got a very like unique kind of a very unique voice. So I believe you're right on that. So yeah, classic all-time movie, whether it's Christmas or not. Yeah, it's just a I mean, when you think about all over the years, like you think about how many action movies, especially kind of 80s, 90s action movies, they all had it. Like they all had a Hans Gruber type character.
Mm-hmm.
But he might be the best version of that character.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, I'm in the camp of Die Hard's a Christmas movie. It takes place at Christmas. Maybe the main theme obviously isn't Christmas, but the fact that it's in LA. I feel like if that was in New York and it was snowing, people might.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I'm gonna go with yes, it's a Christmas movie. So we're gonna put that under the action category. And Hans Gruber, I mean, great villain regardless of genre there. So All right, very good. And let us know. Like, we're obviously recording this, but when it airs, let us know in the comments if that Die Hard, yes or no on yours. Okay, so Greg, I'm going to go with a pick that I feel like you might take later, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to use my second classic here, and this guy is probably should be in real life terms number one villain. Like, if we're talking like biggest piece of trash, and I'm gonna let you fill in some more of these blanks here in a minute, because I know you've seen this movie a lot more than me.
Where you're going,
but I'm going with Mr. Potter. It's a Wonderful Life, and for anyone that's seen that movie knows how bad that character is, for multiple reasons. But Mr. Potter from the classic It's a Wonderful Life. So what say you on good old Mr. Potter?
Well, first of all, he was actually like number 2. Well, he was almost, I almost took him 1. I've almost taken him in each round, and I've kind of tried to keep put, it's like this is going to be, when they look at this draft, this is going to be like the CJ Stroud, like, what the hell are you doing? The hell are you taking Bryce Young for? No, I mean, because you're right. He like, yeah, I think actually I saw that he, like, when the American Film Institute, they put out those rankings, and I think he's actually ranked as the 6th worst villain in the history of movies.
Oh, wow.
Not just Christmas movies. So, I mean, you hit it on the head. And and one of the things you mentioned earlier, which is so true, almost all the characters that almost all the characters that we've talked about and will talk about, for the most part, besides some of the really wild ones, have an arc, right? And they see the error in their ways or something, and he has no arc. Like, he does not. There's no redeeming moment for him. And yeah, but the other thing is that it feels like a real life character. I mean, you can look at the world today, and regardless of kind of what your views are on the world and politically, I mean, there are people in high offices that have a lot of and high rankings and businesses around the world that exemplify a lot of those characteristics of Potter, the greed and the just doesn't give a shit about the common man. And and there's probably and I go on forever on this, but like when he tells George, like, we're worth more dead than alive, that's possibly like one of the worst things you could ever say to somebody, especially somebody that's like, I mean, at the end of their rope.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, hold that thought. I'm going to show a clip here real quick. All right, so I'm going to play a little SNL spoof of It's a Wonderful Life clip here. So here we go.
Potter deposited exactly $8,000 right after I left. It was him. What are we waiting for? Let's go get it.
John Lovitz, another legend.
Are you sure you are, George Bailey? You're in enough trouble already. You made one mistake, Mr. Potter. You're double-crossing me and you left me alive. All right, just a second. I'll give you the money back. I don't want the money. I want a piece of you, Potter. Well, it doesn't, Mr. Potter, and the whole bad configuration of things, you're nothing but a scurvy little spider. Why, you're nothing but a fraud. You're not even a cripple. Now, wait a second. I can explain that. Harry, Mary, hold him for you.
Dana Carvey, one of the most underrated comedians of all time. This is about 30 more seconds.
Mary, have a piece of it.
good.
Oh,
All
wow.
right, so
That's really good.
so good, so good. That's one of my favorite
Yeah.
SNL Christmas sketches ever. So, all right, Greg,
I'd say
we're going
Jimmy Stewart impressions are kind of undefeated as well too. Like those is always funny.
unbelievable, so good. And like for like, I watched that movie for the first time like 2 or 3 years ago. I know it's on every Christmas Eve, and who tweets about it all the time?
Seth Davis.
Yeah, he like live tweets it every
He
year,
live
right?
tweets it.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's always really good. But if you've never seen it, definitely check it out. It's worth a watch, and there's a good spin on that movie too. But Mr. Potter, no good spin on that dude. So all right, he was our 6th pick. So Greg, we're going back to you with number 7.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I'm kicking myself for dragging Potter along too long. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to action and horror because I kind of just want to get that category done with. And I'm gonna admittedly go with a movie I've never seen, but I did watch the trailer. I've heard a lot about it. I watched the trailer, and I actually do think I'm definitely want to watch it this season. So I'm gonna go with Krampus.
Yes.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
Is it good?
It's okay. I would even put it in the comedy horror genre because of the characters that are in it, and it's like I will say it's like a popcorn movie. It's like a fun movie. There's some scary parts in it. Like I wouldn't have a kid less than like 12 watch it, but it's entertaining. I'll just put it like that. But the Krampus character is pretty intimidating. It's like a half goat.
Yeah, it was hard to really figure out what it was. I know when I was watching the trailer, I saw that with Adam Scott, and then there's the guy in Anchorman that I don't know what his name is, the whammy guy. Yeah, so I was like, oh, there's some actual real people in this movie. So I'm intrigued. But yeah, I mean, I looked at some lists and that character was pretty high up there. So I'm gonna go with that based on watching a trailer and just kind of what I've seen. So
yeah, no, I definitely would recommend that. Like I said, it's not like it's not gonna like jump scare. It's not like a creepy. Well, it could be creepy depending on your taste, but it's kind of like a legend. I don't even know like what demographic or whatever nationality, but I mean it's like it's got hooves, it's got like these horns on it, but basically it like comes after like bad people for Christmas, and and I believe if my memory serves me right, they're like trapped in their house like during a snowstorm. And but there's all these other little facets of the movie that make it funny, entertaining, a little bit scary, whatever you want. So definitely worth a watch. It's definitely worth like an hour and 45 minutes, whatever the movie is at your time. So Krampus, that's a good one. So, and this is a random, this isn't part of the draft, but when I was growing up, like my mom's side of the family is very German, and there was always this legend of like this guy named Belsnickel, and he was like a Santa Claus, but he wore like this green overcoat. Santa wears the red one, and he would like come around and like take toys from like kids and stuff that were bad. So it kind of like obviously doesn't have like the killing and stuff like that, but it has like the, like this, like the evil Santa Claus type feel to it. So I don't know, but I think that's a good one. That's definitely, because there's not a lot of like true Christmas like horror movies. So that's a good one, and that definitely fits the horror action. You could, like I said, even put that under the comedy section. So, all right, you went with an animal in yours, like half animal, half whatever. I'm gonna go with an animal in my next one. This is going back to the animated category, and you've already taken the Grinch. I took Professor Hinkle, but I think this one is a very underrated villain. He's a real kind of a douchebag reindeer. I'm gonna go with Comet from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I mean, he basically calls out Rudolph. He would get canceled today in 2023. Let's just put it that way. He calls out Rudolph for basically just being a little different. The guy's got a freaking red nose. He can't help it. He was born that way. Doesn't see like the specialness in him. Doesn't cater, to help out a young reindeer trying to make it in Santa's crew, and basically exiles him, embarrasses him in front of the whole troop. And, so Comet, hats off to you. You're a real piece of shit. So Comet, the worst of Santa's reindeer. So I'm putting him under my animated category.
I like that.
So
all right. Well, yeah. Now I think after losing out on Potter, again, this is gonna go into the kind of the category of unoriginal, but it's gonna go to classic, and probably how many iterations of this character there's been throughout history, whether in a movie or on stage. But I'm gonna just go with good old Ebenezer Scrooge.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong. But even that son of a bitch has a redemption arc, but Potter doesn't. So, but there's a lot of similarities between Potter and Scrooge, same kind of concept. But yeah, I couldn't even. It's like one of those things that, like, have you ever sat down and watched like a Christmas Carol from start to finish, like any of them? I don't know that I actually ever have. And there's 800 different versions of them.
I will say, and hopefully this doesn't steal a pick for later. The one I'm most familiar with that follows the same storyline is Bill Murray's Scrooged, which follows the same, three ghosts and all that. But I've seen like the freaking Muppets version of Scrooge, I think, when I was younger.
There's like a Muppets Christmas Carol,
but I don't think I've seen like the older version, but Ebenezer Scrooge has to be like probably the most common known villain in all of Christmas. So
and they even do like a little parody of Ebenezer Scrooge in Saved by the Bell.
Always bring it back to Zach Kelly, Lisa.
Either Seinfeld or Saved by the Bell.
All right, and which one are you drafting that under?
Gosh, which one am I drafting it under? I'm sorry. Yeah, that'll be classic. Yeah,
classic. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense, and like that's an all time. I think anyone that's watching this show, whether they're young or old, has probably seen that show, or seen that movie or show or some form of it. So.
And I think that character also like retired the name Ebenezer like for throughout history. Although there was like, what was that? There was Ebenezer, Ebenezer Ecubon or whatever was. Yeah. But you don't see a lot of Ebenezers. You don't see a lot of Adolfs. So just not a lot.
That'd be a whole other draft. Names that should never be taken. Adolf or Ebenezer, 1-2 back to back. Yeah, that would be interesting to hear in America if any child in the last like 50 years has been named Ebenezer, or maybe let's say 30 years.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put my bet on probably not. All right. So, and that's probably where like the guy's a real Scrooge, I mean, that's obviously. So, All right. So, I have taken so far, I'm on my 5th pick here. We got 8 picks to total. I've taken 2 animated and 2 classics. So that means I got to go to the action horror genre here. And I'm I'm gonna go. Man, I got a few in this. I am going to go with Stripe from Gremlins. And if anyone, this was a movie I remember very much as a kid. Like if like, you know, maybe like a middle school type kid. Gremlins was like Gizmo's obviously the lovable gremlin character, but this movie takes place at Christmas. And Stripe is kind of like, you're not supposed to feed the gremlins after midnight. There's rules that go along with this, or they can't get wet, or there's consequences, like, and they form these other gremlins. So anyone that hasn't seen it, you know, plot spoiled, sorry, but there's this character named Stripe that's like the bad one of the gremlins. So that's my pick. And there's a lot of Christmas themes and tones in that movie. And then Phoebe Cates, who, you know, is one of like, she was like the it girl of the 80s. She's kind of like, oh man, who would you even compare her to now? Like, I would say like a Jennifer Lawrence type, or like someone like maybe even like a Cameron Diaz of the 90s.
Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence is a pretty good one. Yeah.
Like, but she was like the it girl of the 80s, you know, and she tells this awful story about I think it was her father in that movie, and like how he died and stuff like that, and like but the movie itself is really good, and there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on, but I'm gonna go with that with my action horror pick, and Stripe as my pick here. So we've made 10 picks. Let me go over them real quick. The Wet Bandits, Professor Hinkle from Frosty, The Grinch, Uncle Frank from Home Alone, Hans Gruber, Mr. Potter, Krampus, Comet, Ebenezer Scrooge, and Stripe from Gremlins. Greg, we're going back to you for number 11.
Okay, so I think I'm going to save the wild cards to the end. So
while you're doing that, I'm going to bring up a picture of Stripe from Gremlins.
Yeah, yes.
In case anyone hasn't seen him or forgot. Gizmo is freaking adorable, and then Stripe is about as creepy as it gets. So
yeah, and admittedly it's been a long time since I've seen the Gremlins. Yeah.
So yeah, there's Stripe.
Pure evil right there. That's
but like there's some comedy in there too, as well.
Park, honestly. So animated. So we're gonna go. This one's a mouthful here. So we're gonna go to one of those claymation.
I already know what you're going with now too.
Yeah, Meister Burger, or is it Meister, whatever it is, from Santa Claus is Coming to Town. This, and again, I need to kind of re-up on a lot of these and watch them again, but I do remember this guy, and this guy tried to cancel Christmas, for crying out loud.
He's the mayor of Somerville.
Yeah. So, I mean, say no more, but looks like,
I'm going to bring up a picture of this guy.
Yeah.
So everyone can see him. And, I mean, this is about as fitting as it gets here with this guy. Like, he just looks like he's in a piss poor mood.
Yep.
No matter what the day is. But look at that guy. I mean, and Meister Burger. I don't think you could name a character that nowadays. I feel like you get one canceled or two, like or something. So
So
that's good. That's a good one. Any more thoughts on Meister Burger?
I no, but I'm going to watch Santa Claus is Coming to Town again, and maybe I'll have thoughts. So.
I'll tell you what, those claymation movies are almost borderline horror movies.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say, can we just before we added action to it, and I was like, I don't know what to pick. I was thinking about that. Can we just throw a few of these into horror? Because it's disturbing. We've come a long way in terms of animation.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But also like it's disturbing. It looks really old, but it's also like it's still impressive. Even in any era to be able to, however they did it, it's still like looks, it's dated, but it looks like it still wasn't easy to do.
No doubt. No doubt.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate it. And like I just saw like on TV a little bit ago, there was like Frosty the Snowman, but it was like the second one or something. And it said it was 1939. So I mean, we're talking almost 90 years ago when these movies came out, you know, and like that's pretty damn impressive.
That's really impressive. Yeah.
So, you know, obviously the quality is not going to be there, but you know, it's still really good for the times. All right. So I've taken 2 animated and 2 classics and 1 horror. So I'm going to get my other horror / action movie out of the way, and then I can open it up for my wild cards at the end. So I'm going to go, this goes along with your Hans Gruber pick earlier. People might not think this is a Christmas movie, but it literally takes place, at least the last scene, on Christmas Day. And I'm going to go with Ivan Drago, Rocky IV.
That's awesome.
It's a friggin' sports show. It's the whole movie. Well, 3/4 of the movie takes place in frickin' Siberia, and it's freezing cold when Rocky's training, and you know he's, you know, Ivan Drago's doing his thing. And I mean, is there a more, you know, I know he was in our sports villains all-time draft. So if he's an all-time sports villain and he literally killed someone in the ring and had no problem with it, and, you know, wants to do the same to Rocky, the American frickin' Italian stallion, then he's got to be right up there. So Ivan Drago is going with my action movie pick here. So
no arguments there.
Okay. All right. I was going to ask if you got
I mean, I there's, you know, we could debate on, you could debate on whether it's a Christmas movie, but you're right. I mean, it's kind of maybe a little bit below Die Hard in terms of even less of a Christmas movie, but Drago is an all-time sports villain. He's an all-time villain, and I like making him an all-time Christmas villain on top of that too. But yeah, that's a great movie and a great pick.
So here's real quick what Google says: revenge, nature versus science, East versus West, man against man, and perseverance make for a wildly entertaining Cold War boxing movie, but they are definitely not Christmas themes. The closest the film comes to a holiday idea is at the end of the film. But look at that picture right there. There's a Christmas tree.
That's true.
It's Christmas Day, so I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with it. So, all right. So Ivan Drago, pick number 12. We got 4 more picks, 2 each. Greg, we're going back to you for number 13.
Okay. So and there's like this is literally, it's like we could go a million different directions and go 20 picks on these. So for my first wild card, I'm going kind of true wild card. I'm doing it like every sense of the word, like something that's kind of a little bit off the radar.
Mm-hmm.
And we have talked about this movie a little bit. I think when we had Brittany Molas on, we talked about it, and then you, I think, have seen it. So I'm gonna go to the movie The Family Stone.
Yep.
And I'm going to pick the character of Amy Stone, played by Rachel McAdams, who is absolutely like awful for 90% of that movie.
Yeah.
And for those who haven't seen it, I mean, she kind of like, you could almost make an argument that character is actually Regina George, like, 8 years later. Like, it kind of like she's like I think she's probably like just a little bit out of college, maybe still in college, but I feel like she's out of college, like living at home, like she probably like was, you know, really popular at some point in probably high school and college, and just life hasn't really gone the way that she wanted it to.
Yep.
And she's just like basically acts like a teenager, but almost worse, and is absolutely terrible to the Sarah Jessica Parker character to like, almost ridiculous points. Now she does have an arc like most do, but like it's just a very, I love Rachel McAdams and she's does great in this movie, but God, she's tough in this movie.
Yeah, she is.
It's a good performance, but man, sometimes you just want to kind of reach out and smack her. But yeah, so I'm gonna go with that. It's a good sleeper Christmas movie too.
You know what? You had mentioned that draft we did with Brittany, and I can't remember, you or her took that movie. I had never seen it until we did that draft, and that's kind of why I like doing this, because you guys give me ideas, and I watched that movie and I've really liked it, and it's kind of like a little bit of a tearjerker too at the end.
It absolutely is,
and it's solid. I'd give it that. It's a solid Christmas movie, and obviously there's a lot of family drama in
but that. It's like, especially like as you grow up and like get more life experience, and we all grew up in our own family dynamics, but like I think movies that are like, oh, that's a dysfunctional family movie, but you start to realize like, over the years, like families are dysfunctional, like even functional families are dysfunctional. So
yeah, like
there's a realness to that movie that makes a lot of sense and kind of resonates. So yeah, I'm with you. It's a recommended movie, but yeah, you're absolutely right. It gets you towards the end, definitely.
And it's yeah, like you said though, it's like any like a normal family is weird almost.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, no, really, really good movie. And you said Rachel is her name, Rachel Stone.
Amy Stone.
Oh, Amy Stone. Rachel McAdams.
Yeah. Which I had to look up her. I had no idea. I didn't remember her name, but yeah, star-studded cast.
Really good cast.
Yeah,
definitely worth a watch if you have not seen that. All right, so back to me. And Greg, was that one of your wild cards there?
That was one of my wild cards.
Okay. All right. So I am back to my wild card. So that opens my board a lot here. And I think you're going to get a kick out of this one, but I'm going to go with the animators of the Polar Express. I think those are the creepiest freaking kids. I might borderline put that in a horror movie, because I'll tell you what, that movie's kind of scary. Like I've read the book, I'm a former teacher. I've read that book to my class before. I've read that book to my daughter before. But I don't know, like that movie, it rubs me the wrong way. I'll just put it that way. So I'm not a huge fan. Not a huge fan. Your thoughts on the Polar Express?
Yeah, I'm really glad that when we were talking about animation earlier, I almost dropped the Polar Express, and I'm glad I didn't, because this came out of nowhere. The book is great. The story is tremendous.
Yes.
But it's weird, because we just talked about the claymation, and yeah, it looks like it looks 100 years old, but it's still like good. This is 20 years old, and it just looks bad. And I don't know if it was just the style they used, because like around that time they were making Toy Story and like another movie, so it must have just been the animation style that they used. But it absolutely ruins the movie, or it certainly diminishes the movie. Diminishes an otherwise really good movie, like otherwise really good story.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. I like that curveball. And yeah, actually it was just before I got on here, it was on. And yeah, it's like if you listen to the movie, like the music's good. Like it's almost like one of those movies, if you could like watch it like with your eyes closed, it'd be like, but yeah, it's like the animation is just
so. just thinking, because I think I've only seen that movie twice. Really, once is enough. But the Tom Hanks character kind of gives me creepy vibes.
Well, he plays like a lot of characters, but
like the train conductor,
the main train conductor. Yeah,
but like, does he play that homeless guy kind of on top of the train too?
Yeah, he plays like 4 or 5 characters. Yeah,
that's super creepy. That obnoxious kid.
The obnoxious kid. I thought maybe you were going to go there when you said Polar Express because he's annoying. Yeah. But yeah, the animators definitely took the L on that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that would be a movie that should be up for a remake for sure. That would be a great, like, with what they can do with AI and CGI now. It's like, give that movie another shot and not creep us all out. So
I'm with you. I like that one.
So children won't go to bed scared before freaking Santa comes to town. All right, Greg, you got one more pick. So you're up.
Oh man. So yeah, I'm going off a little bit off the path again. But I'm just kind of bringing in movies that I wanted to make sure we covered. And this is one that you could we could have a separate show on this one and talk about all these different characters, and there's probably 8 characters you could consider villains in this movie at least. But I'm gonna go to Love Actually, which is my favorite bad Christmas movie, and I'm gonna go with the character Mark, which I think he was drafted in the worst character draft, but like, so Mark is the guy with the kind of the famous note card scene, which is creepy and probably the least creepy, or just probably the least that's probably the most endearing thing he does in the movie, and it's like still highly creepy, but he's just like I watched that movie again about a week ago, or I had it on, and it's just like I tried to look for anything that was remotely likable about the guy, and it's just not there. Like it's just I mean, that whole movie's weird. It's British comedy. It's kind of like you gotta take it for what it's worth, but that character is just bad, and his way of basically professing his love to a girl is to like treat her like shit, not talk to her, yet like film their wedding and like basically film her the entire time.
Yeah, really.
And like not show her. Then she looks at the footage and he like runs off, and then he comes back. And all, by the way, it's like his best friend's wife. It just like the whole thing just doesn't compute. But yeah, it's just like, it's one of those, I feel like probably when that movie came out, people were like, oh my God, that's so romantic. That's like, but if you watch, and maybe in and of itself, like that scene could be romantic, like that action could be romantic. But if you go back and watch that movie and watch everything that leads up to that scene with the two of them, it just, it's not. They've literally never even spoken to each other. And he's been mean to her like a third grader would be mean to somebody that they like. Yeah. It's very bizarre. So
no,
that's my rant.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect.
But you could, like I said, you could make an argument the 5 or 6 or 7 other characters in that movie who are, there are not too many like good people in that movie. There's a few, but yeah, there's a lot of people that are kind of ill-intentioned in that movie.
I'm just gonna drop an honorable mention now because I had a different guy. I had Harry on my list from that movie, who's the executive and like with the secretary and like
that's Alan Rickman.
Oh,
that's Hans Gruber.
Oh, that's Hans Gruber.
That's Hans Gruber.
Oh, I didn't even put that together.
So, full circle.
Well, okay. So that makes me feel better because he's still in this draft. I did not even put that to. Wow, how did I not know that? All right, perfect. All right,
yeah. I thought you were going to go with Billy Bob Thornton, the president, but I don't know. It's something about Billy. Like maybe it's the bad Santa thing. Like he just gets kind of a free pass to just be.
Yeah.
It's like there's it is. It's weird. Like it's weird. Like, and I think we think similarly. There's like that fine line between this guy's an asshole and I hate him. This guy's not an asshole, but I hate him. This guy's an asshole, but I love him. It's like it's a lot of subtleties.
There's degrees of assholeness for sure. All right. My last pick here, honorable mention, or not honorable mention, a wild card pick. I still got a bunch of stuff on my list. So I'm debating. I got two in particular I'm debating between. We've already gone with Home Alone twice, so I'm gonna just give Buzz an honorable mention. We could talk about him off the stage, but I gotta go with this guy. It's based in Cleveland. This movie, or at least the house is. This movie, A Christmas Story. They play it every year. To me, it's not even in my top 5 Christmas movies, but I get it why people love it. But he's in my top 8 at least of Christmas movie villains. I'm going with Scoot or Scut Farkus. I don't know if it's Scoot or Scut, but the kid's a real piece of shit and deserves to get his ass beat by Ralphie there. So I mean, and I actually know people named Farkus, and I feel like it gives them a bad name. But I mean, once you see this freaking guy, and I should have had this ready and propped up, but just look at this kid. Is that like the most freaking punchable face you've ever seen? That's like a Mason Rudolph, JJ McCarthy face right there.
A little bit of the JJ McCarthy hair too.
Oh yeah. Just the looks he gives, but he gets somebody compared him to Andy Dalton, like I see there. But yeah. Sorry, Andy, but I had to throw him in there. So I don't know if it's Scoot or Scut. I think it's Scut. It sounds like it sounds like more of a
it's probably one. How many times do they even say his first name? Because
honestly, I don't even know if they do it. I know it's in the credits, but the guy just he gets the beating he deserves there at the end. So any thoughts on Mr. Farkus?
No, I think that's a really good one, and that one is like that. He was kind of there on my list too, and it's good to like. I think I'm kind of with you on A Christmas Story. Like I'm not the world's biggest Christmas Story fan, but it you can't argue that it is a classic movie. So it's good to I always think on these it's nice to you kind of cover if we can cover the 10 big Christmas movies or most of them, and that he's definitely very fitting to be on this list.
No doubt. So we've picked our 16. I'll go over Greg's list here. The Wet Bandits, The Grinch. Greg went with the animated Grinch. Hans Gruber from Die Hard. Krampus. Great action movie. It's a good fun one. Ebenezer Scrooge. Burgermeister Meisterburger. Amy Stone from The Family Stone, and Mark from Love Actually. All great picks. I went with Professor Hinkle from Frosty the Snowman, Uncle Frank, Mr. Potter, Comet from Rudolph, Stripe from Gremlins, Yvonne Drago, Rocky IV, the entire animating crew from The Polar Express, and then Scoot Farkus or Scut Farkus from A Christmas Story. Those were our 16 picks. Now, I know there's more, so Greg, we'll take 2 minutes here and throw out any honorable mentions you got.
So I guess this could be a separate debate, but one classic that we left off on this list is Christmas Vacation.
Yes.
And I think Frank Shirley probably is in the running on, to be a villain, but I guess I can buy this. I've seen a lot of like rankings out there that have been like, no, Clark Griswold is actually the villain of Christmas Vacation. When you think about it, kind of like, yeah, but I don't know. So it's kind of an interesting thought. I mean, it's Clark Griswold, but he does kind of melt down in front of his family and sort of, I mean, their house is basically in ruins by the end of the movie. He kind of did it. He sort of ordered the kidnapping of his boss, which happens. Fair. That's a crime. But Frank Shirley is a great villain too, and we've talked about that character. That's actually Bill Murray's brother, Brian Murray from and another Scrooge-like character.
Hold that thought real quick. Hold that thought. So we gotta show this. So here we go.
If any of you are looking for any ideas for me, I have one. I like Frank Shirley, my boss, right here tonight. I want him brought from his happy holiday slumber over there on Melody Lane with all the other rich people, and I want him brought right here with a big ribbon on his head. And I want to look him straight in the eye, and I want to tell him what a cheap, lying, no good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirty, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey shit he is. Hallelujah! Holy shit! I don't know.
I had to get that in. A Christmas classic. How about this? Let me push back on that. What about Cousin Eddie?
Yeah, I thought about that, and that's completely fair. I think you almost put him in the Marv category, though. He's just kind of like
lovable loser.
But clearly, like there's a freaking explosion that happens at the end of the movie that he's directly responsible for. But
dinner was full.
But yeah, oh man, yeah. I feel like you can't have a Christmas movie podcast without at least a mention of Christmas Vacation. So, but you can debate that. It just shows this. This is certainly not a black and white category in terms of like who the villains are. No,
definitely not. All right, I got to put in one more. This is from, and all right, so my honorable mention is from a show. I don't know if you've ever seen this show or ever even heard of it, but it's called Tales from the Dark Side. And for whatever reason, I feel like I've seen it right around Christmas time on like the Sci-Fi Network. And I've only seen this one particular one. And I feel like it's like, how you've only seen a show like 3 times, but you've seen the same episode. It's like, that's how I feel like about this one. It's called Tales from the Dark Side, and it's called The Grither. And it's like, it takes place on Christmas in a family's home. The actual dad in it is the same dad from A Christmas Story. So you have name or face recognition there. But he tells the story, both parents, of this character named the Grither. I am imploring everybody out there to go watch this. It's about 25 minutes. It's basically like kind of like an updated version of what was that show? What was that show back in the 60s or 70s that
like the Twilight Zone or
Twilight Zone? That's it. Yeah. So it's basically like a creepy version of the Twilight Zone. They tell this story. It plays this song. They talk about this random creature from the North Pole that has hands the size of basketballs and this and that, but it's called the Grither. And it might be dumb, it might be stupid, but I am putting that as my honorable mention because for whatever reason that is stuck in my brain, and it is so good, so bad it's so good. So that's what I'm going with.
I've never heard. They used to have that Tales from the Crypt like show on HBO, but
Yes.
I'd never even heard of Tales from the Dark Side, but
yeah, I think it was a little bit before our time. I think it was like late 80s, early 90s. And somehow I just saw it on one of the, those random channels and got it. So that's I had to at least list it for, even if there's one person out there that's like, oh, the Grither, let me type it in and see. I'm like, totally worth it. And the thing you're not supposed to do, it's kind of like Beetlejuice. You're not supposed to say its name or it like triggers it to come. So it's one of those things. So go watch it.
That's awesome.
20 minutes of your time.
It's awesome. I guess, I don't know. Do we have time for like a couple more?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
This one, just like, I was like literally making dinner like a couple hours ago, and we probably talked about this in one of the podcasts, but like Just Friends. Have you ever like seen them?
Yeah.
I don't know why it got me today. The Chris Klein character in that movie, Dusty Dinkelman. It's like, I feel like he needs to be mentioned in this, but it's more just like I think it's just because it's Chris Klein, and like we have a lot of history with him from American Pie, and but it's like he's like that Chris Klein for like the whole, like for most of the movie, but he has this like crazy evil turn that's just incredible. And just the name Dusty Dinkelman is just great. Like, that movie is,
it's underrated.
It's not good, but it's very entertaining.
It's another one like what was that movie I said earlier? It's kind of like Krampus. It's like a good, like, fun hang out, watch it movie.
It's entertaining, and that character is funny, and
the one, because he goes from like fat to skinny, and like when not Chris Klein, but
Ryan Reynolds,
Ryan Reynolds character, and at the end when he's singing in like his fat suit or whatever, like I'll probably get in trouble for just making fun of that now, but it's so good, good. Yeah. Oh my gosh! So
I had to mention Dusty. That's really, I think about
that would be on the like all-time names draft too. Dusty Peopleman.
Chris Klein is, I don't know. I haven't seen him in too many things, but everything I've ever seen him in, he basically plays the same. He basically just plays Chris. He plays like Oscar.
He's like a dumb jock.
Yeah, just like kind of like seemingly nice guy, like sensitive angle, but he just has a great turn in this movie.
Oh yeah. No, that's good. All right. The only other things I have on my list were Frank Cross, who we mentioned briefly from Scrooged. Obviously, we talked about Buzz a little bit. He should probably be on this list at some point. Mortimer and Randolph Duke from Trading Places. They are the two brothers who Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. And then the other three characters I got, I did have Bad Santa, Billy Bob Thornton. I did have Danny DeVito's Penguin role from.
Ooh, that's a good one, and that is, I would definitely put that in the Christmas movie category.
And I mean, I'll tell you what, like out of all those Batman movies, like the new ones are more like realistic and like creepy, but that was a creepy character, like, and so
that's a really, of all those older movies, I know like the Nicholson Joker is great, but like that Batman Returns movie, I think is of that era of Batman, is my favorite one too.
Yeah. So that was my list, unless I'm skipping over one. I don't think I am. So I think I got all mine on my list. You got any others we left off?
No, I mean, I think we've definitely hit the bulk of them. I'm sure people will. It's probably something we missed, but most of the lists that I've kind of had up that I used to kind of help me out, I think we've basically covered them all. So
no doubt. Yeah. So there's some classic ones that everyone's going to have, but I think we threw in some curveballs there. So Greg, thanks for doing this. And obviously, hopefully there's more movies that come out year to year that we can throw a few more of these these characters in. But hopefully we gave you something to at least maybe go out and watch. If you haven't seen it, Family Stone, the freaking Grither, Krampus, there's some good ones in there. But definitely encourage you to go out and watch some of those movies. So this is airing a couple weeks before Christmas, but we do 1 or 2 of these every year around this time. So maybe we got another one on the horizon. We'll see in a week or 2. But Greg, thanks again for doing this. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Festivus, Kwanzaa, whatever you guys out there celebrate. We appreciate you watching, and hope everyone has a great one. So Greg, thanks a lot, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
All right. So appreciate you guys watching the 330 Sports Show. Everyone have a great day.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.